start, my background is, clearly a business. I'm not engineer. I start at operational functions as a manager, sales director, country manager. And since more than 8 years, I provide consulting for international strategy, and mainly in the medical sector for medical company. It's 80% of my customers. Very often, when we discuss with the company, we have to think about what is your culture, the heritage. And my core heritage is my personal heritage. I'm coming from a doctor family. My father was doctor, my wife is German and doctors, and my parents-in-law are doctors in Germany. And it brings, a lot of network within Europe and specifically in this area. And my business background was more in a software company, digital company. And 10 years ago, it was not so evident like today. There is a clear value propositions to leverage between the digital and the medical. And it was two worlds who are not on the same agenda, on the same timeline, and the opportunity was there to help the company to better define their business model when they think about what should be my future value prop in the medical sector. And if I was a software editor, to think about you have some constraint in the medical area, pharmaceutical area, with all the regulatory compliance and so on, clinical trials. So it was not the same time frame. And today it's more evidence, but 10 years ago it was not the case, and that's why I decided to be focused on this area. To bring some idea, when you are a consultant, the problem is you give advice to company, and you need to, I hope, provide the best practice. So I try to think about regularly and to learn. I'm in the board member of a think tank called La Fabrique de l'Exportation. We invite professors from all over the world to bring us their research on the international development, the strategy, and to make these studies, sometimes too much academic for entrepreneur, usable. So this is the role of the think tank, and you can go on the website. It's mainly in French, sorry, but there is a lot of documents and advice for entrepreneurs. And again, it's of course a relatively French ecosystem, but for the international, I'm as well accredited with BPI, Stratection de Medicine, which are international programs.
David, c'est quoi ton site web?
La Fabrique de l'Exportation, it's here. For the think tank, it's the second.
D'accord, merci.
Okay. Here, it's clearly having some best practice in this medical and international strategy, some cluster medicine, which is a big Parisian cluster, but as well some other more focus on health and for international things I already discussed. The agenda going to be this one. So small introductions, potential go-to-market strategy, what going to be the choice of implementation mode, where to export, which country, which methodology, and how to transform the company visions, and some advice. Again, the time is limited, so it's more some inputs. Of course, during the coffee break and maybe later, we will have the opportunity to discuss in more detail for each of you. The go-to-market strategy depends, of course, according your offer, your strategy, your customers, your competitors. And for each of you, it depends of if you are B2B, B2C, B2B, B2C, so there is different strategy to develop. The implementation mode should be direct. You decide to create a subsidiary, a branch, indirect through a distributor, through an agent, or decide to make alliance in a collaborative way, or more with more, like a joint venture as well. So there is different implementation modes that we try to differentiate and see what should be the criteria to choose. And of course, when we study the international strategy, there is different keywords we learn to handle. Partnership, joint venture, we heard about accelerator, clusters, acquisitions or no, go, no go, agent distributor. So how to try to put in the order to define the strategy. The strategic mode, it depends as well of different factors. What should be, the investment risk you are ready to take. If it's high or low. Again, it's consulting is not black and white. It's the analysis has to be more details, but it's what I will explain just later. It's some, lessons we learned coming from the different customers we studied. And generally speaking, where the appetite for the risk is low for, personal reasons, for or because you don't have a lot of capital, the remote conquest is clearly more adapt, and a local anchorage it's more recommended when you are ready to take risk. When we discuss with about US just after me, it's very important to have that in mind, because the US market is the first market in the world for medical spending, and you could have a view, a commercial view, saying, okay, that's very interesting because I could make new customer, new market share. But as a stakeholders, that's very important because there is a market price to be on the US market, and in this case, the investment risk, if you are in the entrepreneur and the main stakeholders of your enterprise, this is something to think about at the strategic level. The second thing in the strategic analysis to conduct, it's about the commercial model. It depends about the sales skills and the commercial control degree you want to have. If you want to control and have a regular reporting very close from your sales, clearly we are speaking about more integrated sales. If it's not so important, in this case, it's going to be sales through third party. In the middle, it's some things in France we are not very famous, but if you are looking the north of Italy, the Germany, the Netherlands, they are very strong for that, and the alliance should be clearly a good option. For example, you sell tables and I sell chairs. Let's go to sell dining room together on a different market. We could complement our value propositions and try to set up a new offer. And that should be something very powerful. It's something we try to push regularly to study the alliance. And in the different modes, that should be a combination of integrated sales and indirect sales, but sometimes an alliance should be as well a good option. According to your competitive advantage, depend of where made in Europe or in your country, made in France, made in Germany. If you want to have the industrial control of the process innovation as well, and you have your product innovation, in this case, the options should be different. Should be clearly made in Europe. We take very well-known examples with the car made in Germany. It's exportation of goods and service. That should be maybe for some of you license technology transfer or under license. If you want to keep, I mean, the control of the process innovations. And if you have a product innovation, in this case, you have more options in the end. According to your customers, are you B2B, B2C, meaning you have concentrated customers or atomizated customers? In the case of concentrated customers, it's preferable, generally speaking, to control your sales cycles and to I mean, to try to take care about that. If your customer are atomized, that should be direct or indirect through an agent on importer, distributor, JV, or if you want to accelerate on the market, that should be as well an acquisition.
David, I have a question.
Yes.
How do you define concentrated customers? Is it geographically concentrated or?
No, for example, imagine it's a big pharma, big big pharma. So it means that if we target US, and it should be Pfizer. In this case, it's very easy to see. Okay, at least it's under 100 customers. If it's atomized customer, it means that you should be B2C models where you have a lot of customers all over the countries, meaning 10,000 or more millions. And in this case, you cannot have the opportunity to to develop our sales force. And generally speaking, when it's concentrated customers, it should be, an acquisition cost of customer higher, and sometimes that's why it's some generality, so we need to analyze in more detail. But sometimes, because this process is more complex to control, it's better to keep the control rather to give to an agent or a distributor the control of your sales cycles. Because in this case, he will give the priority to sales with more ROI, quicker ROI. That should be according to the characteristic of the targeted market. So it means that the different criteria should be the customer rate, the non-tariff barrier, the difficulty on access times to final customer. So what we just discussed, intercultural difficulties. If you need a local support, and in this case, if it's low or high, it's better in the first. If it's low, you have different options like direct exportations or through an agent and distributor, and more we have a high constraint. In this case, the better approach generally speaking, is an acquisition or transfer of technology. But again, it's what we study and what we saw on the different missions conducted with colleagues as well. But that should be to analyze in more details with your company. According the corporate strategy and the enterprise, you need to adapt the product to the local need, or there is a will to innovate. You want to be a leader and clearly a worldwide leader. So if it's just an opportunistic approach or a strategic approach and saying tomorrow I want to be the leader on this technology, on this product, and in this case, that changed a little bit your strategy of implementation mode and what you have to decide at strategic levels. So, in the first times we saw the different questions we have to ask about the implementation mode. The second questions we have to ask is which country to go. And that's not easy to think about. It's a methodology developed by different colleagues, and we work on that with someone in the room as well. It's this methodology was issued from colleagues who work with investors, because in the board, every time saying, I heard that Brazil was very good, I heard that the US was very good, and at the end of the day, you remember the last board meetings, I told you, you have to go there and you have to go there, and at the end of the day, it's a never-ending story. It's which country and why? Because I met someone. I am when you ask to some enterprise why you are here. Because someone introduced me and other people some years ago. But was it strategy? I don't know. So the idea is to try to define a methodology. Okay, that should be maybe a wood for the first meetings, but at the end, it's something that everybody is agreed. It's to establish 12 criteria. It's criteria on macroeconomic aspects, microeconomic aspects, and socio-cultural aspects. So we will define a matrix with different criteria. So you could writing the different criteria and give a rating to define a ranking at the end. Just explain in more details. For example, on the macroeconomics aspect, that should be, it's some things to discuss and to establish together. That should be the commercial agreement, the tariff barrier, the non-tariff barrier, the sanitary measures, the political risk, the financial risk, and some others. That should be a lot of criteria. And then saying, okay, the political risk for me, it's very important, so I give a weighting of 6, and for example, the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, something to define, commercial agreements, this kind of criteria. On more microeconomic, so business, sales, and so on, that should be the competitions, the number of local productions, the current market demand, the market saturation, the customer profile, the level of price, the logistic cost, if your product are, hard to transport, and same methodology, you give a weighting of criteria. And sociocultural, intercultural parameters. Should be the language barrier, the cultural proximity, the image of your country, the image of Europe in your case, the image of the product, and same methodology. At the end, so you give all the countries the rating, and you have a rating. And how to exploit that? Then you try to push this all this rating on a geographical portfolio for sustainable country over time. Meaning that, okay, like that you have a view on the next 6 years, what should be the countries you want to develop your business. And again, it's not the idea is not to come back to that. Of course, it just should be the news or the like I take the example of Saudi, which should be things for enterprise to target this country that should be subject to change. But the idea is to have a global view, saying, okay, first year we will develop and take contact on this country on a proactive mode. Second year that should be that, and for Brazil next year too. We know that Brazil is not very easy for regulatory constraint and so on, so there should be more times rather than other countries who are more closer. And the idea is say, okay, for example, year 2 that should be USA. So in this case, I need to take contact the year 1 to develop my strategy in US. And like that, you have, a global view on the upcoming years about your development in the different countries. Then you need to give a vision, and to be succeed in making a photograph representing the future of your company internationally. What's going to be my market share? What should be eventually the modifications on my new offer, maybe with an alliance, my vocation, leadership, my image, and so on. The idea is to be able to have a vision and to change the idea that international is not the go-to-market on an international market is not. It should be an opportunity, but not just an opportunity. And in the think tank, we saw that many times, the cause of failure in internationally, it's a question of preparations. And all these questions is to try to be well prepared, more well prepared to go at the international. After the vision, of course, you need to align the value chain on the future organizations. And the value chains, it's an example here, like R&D, sales, productions, logistics, and margin at the end, and the back office here, have to be transformed for exportations and for export. And this change could be displayed and anticipated. It's something to discuss with your, with the board, and to identify the future important transformation area, and saying, okay, that should be the R&D director responsibility. Here, this is the CFO responsibility. Here, it's sales and marketing responsibility, and so on. And in this case, they could allocate the right resource at the financial level and HR levels to anticipate that. Give you some, advice. I just discussed about that. Preparations to anticipate. The idea as well should be, the other idea as well should be to de-risk with appetite test, market study, to answer to go-no-go questions. And it's a good transition with what Jabril will present just after, because imagine that the US in year 2 is one of your targeted countries. How to answer to the questions, how to de-risk this aspect. Use and leverage a different accelerator, clusters, consulting, ecosystem, public, private in place. Today, clearly, it's a good example. It's a good opportunity to network and to meet. I mean, some people in US, but some vertical experts today. So, and in US, we will see that there is similar ecosystem. So clearly, the densification of your network is key. And at the end as well, the intercultural difference to manage. So this for different countries, okay. And sometimes, even if you, there is a slide from Jabril on that, it's not because you make a no-go on a different on a market that should be negative for the company. You could reintroduce innovations, learn on the market, and that should be very positive. It's okay with this business case.
Are there any questions? Comments?
I have one question or comment. What is the size that you see companies start to use these kinds of methods? Because, like you said, very often you just meet someone and it's a bit opportunistic, or you have an idea that US market, for example, is large. So, at what size have you experienced companies start to use these methods?
For me, there is no minimum size because it's a strategic question. After that should be the ambitions of the different country, and in strategy, it's always a question of resource. If you have a lot, and by essence, we are in a limited resource, meaning HR or capitals.
Mm-hmm.
But again, look for a company like Google or Facebook at the beginning. Their ambition was to be a born global company, so they request a lot of money to investors to execute the plan, and and if we look their portfolio, the idea was to handle a lot of countries per year. It's just a question of resource at the end of the day. So it's for me there is no. It's not a question of size.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious if anyone has used any form of method like this, even not as developed, but choosing the potential markets based on a variety of criteria, trying to organize them for your companies. Anyone wants to show of hand? Because I haven't, but I'm still raising my hand. Yeah, you have? Do you want to briefly explain?
Yes, I was part of a spin-out company from Newcastle University. We had a technology for coating surfaces with proteins. And we did an initial scan, a little bit like that. We didn't have any resource, so it was more of just a few of us sitting around and discussing. But we had a business canvas that we were working on. And so we decided that we would, outside of Europe, we would approach the Japanese market first, because that's where most of the electronic companies were that we were targeting. So it's very simple.
Right, but you still had the formal, like a canvas and looking at the different markets before choosing one of them,
Yes.
right? And for you it was...
Yeah, so we had a simple set of criteria, which was to look for the type of customer we were targeting and where they were.
Right, right. Thank you. Anyone else has used these kind of methods or would see potential use for these methods? Potentially useful? Yeah.
Or decide to go on a country and saying, maybe it should be been good to make like, yeah.
I like very much the method you introduced about the country's selection, to the way you remove the emotion on decisions on which country you need to adopt. I would be very interested to have a similar study for the photonics industry, for example, because I assume this is market dependent, because you use macro and micro and regulatory
Yes.
criteria. But I would be very interested to have that for the photonics market where my company.
Yes, but you know, it's I mean the matrix is not general. It's clearly something to customize according to each enterprise on a regular basis. Consulting to establish or to co-establish this kind of matrix, and the idea is to find the right balance between the available data that you have internally or you could find, and if it's too much complex to find. It's clearly a discussion, so this part is very important, and so it's very personal for each enterprise. So, but I'm pretty sure that that should be possible in photonics. And then, of course, if you have too much questions or you believe it's too much risky to decide a go on a country, in this case, I invite you to contact clusters, consultant company in the different country to try to test the market, to test your offer to potential future customer prospects, to identify if your value proposition is well identified, well differentiated with the other market, if your price is correct with your perceived value, and so on. Clearly,
I would be interested to monitor, for example, I used to handle a distribution network in Europe, and in order to see if this country is, if you have selected the right distributor or not, it would be interesting to have such tool in order to rate if the distributor in this specific country is doing a good job or not. Right. Today I think we are not very professional in our company, and we only rate people like with the GDP, and we just use like few macroeconomics criteria. But,
yeah, and for the distributors or sales management, it was not in the topics, but at the operational levels, it's very useful to have appropriate tools to follow up the quality of your distributor, of your agent. So it's another subject, but clearly some things very important in the success in this model, in the indirect model.
What I find interesting working for the cluster, so and we not only work on European affairs but also international development. What I was stricken by was the fact that when you said, hey, why would you go to, for example, to Brazil? Because somebody said, how many times I hear this kind of thing. Sure. Really, I mean, I understand that you have limited resources and in financial and human resources, but really, how many times have I heard this? And I'm not an expert as you are, for example, but I mean, it's interesting to see that the process is there, you know, and it should be used basically to argument your decision. I was just wondering, what's the timeline to implement this kind of process? I don't know, a couple of months?
Yeah,
or,
again, it's always depend on the resource and availability of the people.
But let's say a company of
currently
10 to 20 people.
Yes, currently I'm working on with different companies. It's a French SME, so I mean to deliver a little more that I explained, but it's relatively 3 months to define the matrix, keep the data. And then that should be more than 3 months to, discuss internally about the change. So it's a 6-month process. If you are motivated, there is clearly the leadership of the top management, and they want to move. Clearly, to make that, you need to see the international like an opportunity, and you need to have the support of the top management to support. But in a 6 month process, yeah, it should be.
And sometimes in terms of actual days of work, it can be a few intensive sessions. I know that
it's an
David
iterative
sometimes and spends a full day session, several times a few day sessions. So it could be just like a blitz, like an intensive workshop. Even
Yes,
in a week, you could deliver something that starts to help make decisions that are not just driven by opportunity or emotion, but something that starts to put some structure in the process. We go sometimes this week, actually yesterday, it was for one full day with the team, with some of the members of the management team in a company that's maybe 30, 40 people. And within one day, it already helps to bring some structure. So, like David said, there shouldn't be a threshold saying, "Oh, this is not for us. It's too much. There's a way to try to go towards these methods, even if you're a small company. It's just not going to include everything, but it helps to avoid making wrong decisions."
Yes, it's not 6 full months full time.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay.
One quick question. To what extent is intellectual property then a consideration in that matrix? Is it part of the regulatory framework of the jurisdiction you look at as well?
Yes, that should be there, or that should be as well when you're looking. That should be, yes, of course, and that should be as well on the microeconomics aspects, because it should be a factor of differentiations to the profession. Clearly, that the discussions we could have when we establish a matrix, which criteria, how we will define, how we widen it. So it's in this at this moment we decide where to put the criteria with your team based on the experience and the reality of the market. Yeah, that should be in the two macro or microeconomic aspects. Okay, Javril?
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.